For clarity, we want to say this is a guide on strategies, not strategy. We'll be talking about the various commands you can give your students before sending them into battle. For general strategy, check out almost any of our other videos. We'll explain what specific strategies do and shed some light on what kind of behavior to expect from engage at will. When a student acts, they first consider a target, then move, then fire. Let's map out what happens if they are using a directional strategy, such as Northern Strong Enemy Aim. They will first check every target in sight to see who qualifies as the strong enemy. If they find only one target, they will prioritize moving into position to shoot that target even if it means moving south instead of north. The directional input is meant to get them to their target. After that, they do what is necessary to bring the target down. If they find multiple targets, they will aim for the northernmost target, then chase it until it dies and no longer qualifies as their primary target when they will start an action. If a student is using engage at will, they will pick a direction at the start and stick to it the entire battle. Depending on how much they trust you, this may be a good decision or a puzzling one. Still, it is often better to let them decide than to force them into a bad choice just to exert control. There is a slight clarification necessary. What a student considers in position to fire on their target does not override the directional input unless they would be unable to fire completely. If following the given direction means taking a shot with an accuracy penalty, they will happily do so. In addition, if the student has a secondary target of nearby enemy, they will walk out too far to be able to fire on their secondary target if it means getting closer to a target that meets their primary criteria. This means that if a sniper is told to use the frontal mid-range aim strategy, they will walk right up to an enemy unit that is not an assault rifle type if there is an assault rifle behind them. Do this even though they cannot fire on the non-assault enemy since it is within their minimum range. Keep in mind that students always move first, then shoot. If they choose a primary target that is out of range, they will position to get closer to being able to shoot it. Only after they move and are out of range do they consider secondary targets. The dangers of this are twofold. First, it can lead to wasted actions if your units have a minimum range and are told to choose targets at the back of the enemy formation. Second, it can lead to long-range units bayoneting the enemy frontline in order to take pot shots at their backline, an activity that usually ends in them being blown up. Now, let's talk a bit about choosing targets. If the student is allowed to choose freely, such as in engage at will, they will usually target short-range units, then mid-range, then long-range. They will only target enemies that are within their firing range. However, if there are multiple units within firing range, their actions can be difficult to predict. Be sure to have an idea of how the battle will flow when using this strategy. A close-range aim strategy will target handguns, then submachine guns, then shotguns. A mid-range aim strategy will prioritize light machine guns and assault rifles. A sniper aim strategy will target snipers, then anti-materiel rifles. A weak aim strategy will target enemies with a low total health. This usually means targeting handguns first, then submachine guns, then snipers, then anti-materiel rifles and assault rifles, then light machine guns, and finally shotguns. Be careful. A strong aim strategy doesn't just reverse this list. Strong aim targets units with high attack first, then high total health. This usually looks like anti-materiel rifles, then snipers, then assault rifles, then light machine guns, then shotguns, then submachine guns and finally handguns. Some special strategies exist as well. Intercept, for example, pauses a unit to regulate their movement in order to block enemies from passing them. Once they find a target, they get in its face and act as normal until it dies. Thus, they will only physically block one enemy at a time, but usually distract the whole lot. Another set of strategies tells a unit to accompany allies of a certain range class. It is a curiosity by itself but can be combined with other strategies to pull off tactics too advanced for this video. A few things to watch out for. If you tell a student to use a strategy like tank aim, which has a primary target of shotguns and a secondary target of handguns, then they will not fire on any unit that is not a handgun or a shotgun. If there are no handguns or shotguns on the map, they will still choose a nearby target and position accordingly, but they will not shoot. This is excellent if you really need a certain enemy dead, but devastating if you were relying on the full force of your firepower for the rest of the enemies. Meanwhile, a strategy like close-range aim has nearby unit as the secondary target. This means that even if there are no close-range enemies on the map, that student will still attack other enemies as normal. Early on, strategies are helpful but not absolutely necessary. You may want to reconsider telling every unit to use frontal attack, though, if they keep charging in so close that they incur accuracy penalties. Later, strategies become indispensable. They can spread out your evasion tanks in Stage 3 to reduce the chance of the enemy snipers firing over their shoulders. Much later, in Stage 6, telling your AMRs to ignore the tantalizing enemy handguns in favor of taking down the large-scale boss can be the difference between success and failure. The strategies available can be used to pull off all sorts of powerful and wonky maneuvers, but they are not idiot-proof. That doesn't mean you're an idiot, of course, but if you think your students are idiots, remember it's probably your fault.